boxes, a couple smaller boxes, and another big box in the back of my buddy's car for him to go sell on eBay.
That's cool. So what were you selling?
Everything.
I mean, with that much stuff, it's quite a long list, I imagine.
Oh yeah, absolutely. A ton of stuff.
Seriously, Jim, did you just paint that like while we were sitting here?
Yeah, I just been working on these 3.
All right. Oh, wrong one. Went to the wrong one. New test screen. Boop. There we go. Reapercon review. Yay! We are back, guys, and welcome to episode... Kathy?
50!
This
Big
is...
50!
50! Like the scent?
Kinda.
Like the scent.
If that scent is, floral?
No,
Floral.
Yeah, I got nothing.
50
I don't know.
cents.
Yeah.
Welcome to episode 50, guys. We do have James is painting up in our bottom left-hand corner. He's going to be painting miniatures the whole time while we're talking because, he's got work he has to do. I'm going to be working on a miniature, of course, too. And we're both working on Lord of the Rings miniatures since that just came out. But other than that, this is going to be our Reapercon review because, of course, I didn't get to go because I'm not special like that. And, John, why didn't you get to go?
Because I live quite a bit further away from it.
Yeah, it's actually pretty close to me, I found out. So I could have, but I didn't. So that's the reason why
next year.
Yeah, there's always next year. Which I'll probably have more money saved up since I can't go to Adepticon next year. So, wah.
Well, I guess if we saw you at Reapercon, that would make up for it.
Yeah, it would have to.
And you know what? They have a good track of role-playing game stuff. If you're into D&D or Pathfinder, they've been running events for both of those at Reapercon the last few years. And then Joseph Wolf does a Dreadmere campaign every year.
Turn off something. I just noticed that one of our old things is running.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yep.
One of our old things was running.
The
Breach Storm one.
Yeah. I forgot to have the timer of the Breach Storm so everybody knew what we would follow. So, yeah, because y'all guys, you will see some stuff spam by, and it should only be like every 15 minutes, which is like our Patreon stuff, which keep an eye on, because something's possibly going to come out because of Patreon. And
yeah, we're working on stuff again with that. We got some crazy ideas we're throwing back and forth.
We're always coming up with new things, just trying to keep it fresh.
Yep. Remember, if you're a Twitch subscriber, Twitch does not automatically renew your subscription. Jump up and, subscribe again. And if you are a subscriber, you can click on the arrow where the sub and gift a sub is, and it'll tell you when your subscription expires so you can keep track of when you might want to renew it.
Correct.
Doubly so if you're, tied into your Amazon Prime account and you get the free 1 sub a month.
Correct, because you have to automatically do that. And we are streaming on Facebook Live, and so if you are watching there, you can do all the cool things that you want by giving us stars and stuff like that, because that's their new streaming service that they're trying to do. Trying to compete with Twitch, which is cool.
Yep, they're trying to make it a thing, so we're going to do our part to try and help,
Yep.
Just means one more chat window for me to look at.
Yay!
Right? I was just thinking, do I need to go back to the Facebook?
Well, we should see Facebook chat show up in our window, but for some reason the Facebook chat is really slow. I'm going to try to figure and get that working a little bit better. So if you're watching
David
on Facebook...
West says, hey, Kathy.
Oh, hi.
We're just going to try to keep an eye on that because that thing takes a little bit longer to load on this. Oh,
thank you for the bits, Banyan.
Banyan loves us. He thinks we're special. So we are in episode 50. It is our Reapercon episode.
See the bits leader? We can't have that.
Oh, no. Someone outbid Banyan on bits because, he's like 2 episodes behind on the Star Wars episode. So, we can't have that. So, other than that, let's go with our normal. James, you're first. What are you drinking today?
I had actually made myself a little concoction that had milk, chocolate and rum in it. I was trying to basically make like a chocolate rum chata.
Okay. John, what are you drinking?
I am drinking an Arizona light half and half hard iced tea and lemonade, and then I also have a shot of what are we talking here? Bird Dog apple flavored whiskey.
Bird Dog apple flavored whiskey. Okay.
Apple.
New,
Okay.
new on me. Kathy, what are you drinking tonight?
Rum.
What?
Drinking rum.
No way.
What?
That's like
I know.
amazing.
Shocked, I'm sure you all are.
Suck it, Badian.
Kathy doing rum? There's no way.
Right? Oh, and I also have some coffee over here, which I'm sure shocks everybody.
Oh yeah.
What? I can't
Coffee
Oh.
even.
too?
Right?
No way.
Right?
Mind blown.
blown.
Looks like we have a bits war going on.
Someday I'll have something good.
Someday I'll have something good.
I'm drinking not something new. I've had this before, but first time on the podcast, and I finally found it at a store locally, and so I found a few 4-packs of Dragon's Milk,
Oh,
cool.
yeah, that's good.
which if you ever had before, it's 11% by volume. You're supposed to have it with food. Fuck that. It is a rich, roasty,
with
and
cereal?
creamy with heavy notes of vanilla and just a familiar warmth from dark barrels.
So,
Remind
so
us
just
that all of
pour
life's
that into
events.
cereal.
Yeah, well, it says you're supposed to have it with red meat, smoked foods, balsamic, rich cheeses, and dark chocolates. Fuck that. I'm just going to have what I got.
Honestly,
So-
all of that makes me very hungry now.
Yeah.
It makes me a little hungry too.
It's a bourbon
Like,
barrel
eat some red meat.
aged stout. So, to episode 50, guys. Shit. Cheers.
50 episodes. Cheers.
Thanks for everybody showing up. We love you.
That is just the cutest damn shot glass ever, John.
Yeah, I love
Fuck,
these.
that's good.
Woo.
Let's go and switch to the paint
No.
cam.
Was it good, John?
Yeah, it was good. Just hit me a little strong.
Well, I mean, it is whiskey.
Well, I mean, it's like I haven't eaten in a couple hours.
Oh, so this should be fun.
That is theoretically the only alcohol I'm going to have tonight.
The only?
Mm-hmm.
The theory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, suck it again, Banyan.
We're having a bidding war with bits in the
Hey,
channel
look, I
right now.
got free bits for some. Yeah, I win. Yeah.
Well, if you
I got
do
free
watch some
bits and
ads, you
stuff,
can get
so
some
I'm
free
giving
bits. There are ways to get free
I don't even
bits.
know what you guys are
Yeah.
talking about.
When someone cheers at you with bits, it's a way to tip.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna work on this ogre, this Mordor ogre.
Oh, those guys are cool. I wish I still had mine, but
Yeah,
No,
They've
are
been-
they ogres or are they trolls?
they're trolls.
they're trolls, but
I
they
couldn't
But they're not
remember.
cave trolls.
correct. They're not cave trolls.
Are different.
Yeah. So I haven't put together all the models yet. The troll does have this big old line through the edge because the body is 2 separate pieces.
Yeah.
But
Those older models are,
yeah,
because I found some older models in my stuff I started putting together, and sometimes the molding on that is bad, but their new stuff's been way better.
they're all
Goblins
plastic.
Made me cry.
Yeah. It's got really good detail, really cool poses because the arms are not socketed; they're pegged, and so you can kind of rotate them. So I could have spun it left and up and down or whatever. And the hand, I could have spun it, and they had
That's cool.
so many different variants. They had like 4 different heads, like 5 different weapons, drums that you could have put on the chest.
Yeah, drums. Yeah, I remember when those came out.
And you can put, they had drumsticks that you could put in their hands. So you could have made the drummer. A lot of cool poses. He does lean over. So if you look, like when you sit him down, he's leaning over and looking down like he'd be looking down at this target
Yeah,
area.
that's all their models.
Yeah, which is okay. Not a big deal because it's an action pose. That's the reason why I got the arm way
Yeah.
up in the air. so far the models look really good. I can't wait to put together the Nazgul and Fell Beast. That's what I'm looking forward to.
The fell beasts are so much fun.
There's certain models I would love to get really good ones of that when they came out originally they didn't do them justice.
Mm-hmm.
Because like when the Hobbit the first Hobbit movie came out, I'm like, I require a Thorin Oakenshield model because Thorin Oakenshield is badass and awesome, and I had forgotten because it'd been a while since I read The Hobbit. I'm like, I want a good model, and they put the model. I'm like, he's okay,
Yeah.
not that good.
I was very sad about the goblins because I was looking forward to all those movie goblins, and they tried. They really did try. But when you've got the mold line running right down the face
Yes.
of the goblin, it changes their expression.
Yep.
You know, and you can't clean that or you destroy all the other details.
Couldn't actually, if you get yourself a brass brush or something like that, you still have to be a little careful with it, but you can clean a good portion of it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta be careful
They,
because
they were such a giant pain for me to clean that I just left all the mold lines on and then did a half-ass paint job on them because it wasn't worth my time.
well, these look really solid. The Ghost Rangers, I can't remember what their official name is.
Army of the Dead.
The Army of the Dead guys. Those are super good.
So do we just want to talk about Lord of the Rings now and do the Reaper
Yeah, let's go.
recast
Yeah.
after?
Yeah, let's just get this out of the way real quick. Because since we're painting them.
Because everything we do is real quick here.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Especially when it's a game that we all have liked and played.
I have not played a single game of Lord of the Rings.
It was my favorite system back in the day. It's actually why I ended up playing bolt action now, because there's some similar mechanics. Because it's not always your turn, the other guy's turn. You don't know whose turn it's going to be. And even the phases are broken. They're split up between the two players. So you move, shoot, fight, and the fights are chosen. And fights are singled off one guy. So, this guy is going to fight this guy. Then this guy is not able to just fight over here. You're not just in mobs. And cavalry really does stuff, because if he charges him, he gets an actual bonus for charging. And if he knocks him down, he may not kill him, but boy, he's getting a serious amount of dice. And guys that are prone are obviously at a disadvantage, but they're not always dead. That's the cool thing. And with riders, he wants to shoot him. He may only hit the horse, and the rider, especially if he's Rohan and got a riding skill, he's not automatically dead. He just gets replaced by the foot guy, which is why I have to paint up a lot of foot Easterlings to replace cavalry that gets unhorsed.
Yeah, I always dug Lord of the Rings rules, and I like what GW's going. They're getting away from the I go, you go for everything. They're actually trying some different stuff, which is cool.
Yeah. I've watched a few of the battle reports, and I've liked it because it looks like it's just a good old fun, solid play. And of course, there's a lot of narrative play to it, so that's a cool thing. So if you want to recreate certain battles or do certain things, you can. You just got to get the models to do it. But I picked it up because, well, I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan, and I watched a couple of videos, and of course, I like to support other people, game store and stuff. So I can't wait to play some games with it. I'm going to put it all together and then have it and bring it to the store and kind of teach people type thing. So I'm looking forward to it.
I'm hoping that the Army of the Dead scopes are actually new, because that was one of my favorite armies when I last played. I had a whole Army of the Dead, but the scopes were they were iffy.
Very mediocre.
It looked really cool. I mean, once you already painted it and everything.
I wonder if not Brushhead Dave still has 7,000 Army of the Dead guys.
I'm going to just...
So, having worked at Games Workshop, I started when they released the Lord of the Rings game, the first one, the Fellowship of the Ring.
Mm-hmm.
And went through that whole time. So we ended up with tons of extra Lord of the Rings stuff. Mine's all gone, unfortunately, but that was a big deal, for us, because it was the big game. We got in there. And, with a lot of mispacks here and there, we fix them how we can, and then a lot of extra stuff that we ended up getting rid of. So that's why not Brushhead Dave had like 1 million Army of the Dead guys. But that stuff's going now. We were talking before the cast how hard it is to get that stuff in the secondhand market now, because it's a big thing.
Yes, it is.
Well, even at Nova last year when we were there, we were astounded at how big their Lord of the Rings tournament was.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's still people out there playing it. So I'm just glad
it
to
was
see
a-
them re-release it.
It was a good game. The core
Yes.
rules are very
Yeah.
very solid and very different, which I love.
And that's why I didn't mind half-ass painting those ugly goblins, because the game itself was so much fun.
Hey, Comic Scout, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
He's footballed out. I can't blame you. I've been footballed out for a couple years.
Yep. But I mean, I don't know if the sculpts are new, but they're all everything in there is plastic. So it may be. I don't know. I never got into it because it came in and died out quickly around us. So I'm hoping it doesn't just die out.
I would love it if they had a better
that's too
version of the Goblin Ward Rider, because I would jump on that.
Well, let's see. A lot of them are looking basic like the old plastics, which makes sense because those old plastics cost a lot of money to make the sprues for,
Yeah.
and you're going to get as much use as you can.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, they just
those
may have
goblins are
taken.
definitely the old goblins.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they may have just taken the goblins and taken the sculpts and just put them in
That's
plastic.
that's what I saw too. But the Ward Rider was fine cast.
Yeah.
It was not plastic.
They had plastic Warg Riders for a while.
The reason why it didn't catch on so much, Legionnaires, is one, the scale was really off on the models. They weren't the size of, they were a little bit smaller, and that turned people off.
They were like true 25 basically. Or
Yeah.
close to that.
They were Perry Brothers models.
Yeah,
Which
New
is-
Line
and that's how
Cinema.
Yeah.
Well, they demanded that they be true scale because they couldn't have Gandalf with baseball gloves for hands
Yeah.
and a pumpkin for a head.
Yep.
So it turned a lot of people off that they weren't larger models.
And I'm going to say, looking through the models they have on the website, every single one of them is the same old plastic version, if it was in plastic. So
I just searched for the Warg Riders on GW. I got the 404 Air, all records expunged from library. Let me just try that again.
I just went to new releases and clicked on them and view all.
I think that's what I need to do.
Yeah, they're okay.
What was weird is around us in Arkansas, the game was picking up steam like 3 to 4 months before they announced the new system, which I thought was really interesting. Is everybody was like, "Ooh, who all wants to play Lord of the Rings again?" And it was like, "Why is it?" And then all of a sudden, like 3 or 4 months later, people are wanting the new system comes out, and I was like, "Oh, that was just really weird that happened that way," which is okay. Nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, it's almost like it came down the pipe. Honestly, the models started getting big on the secondary markets before the announcement, so
Yes.
somebody smelled that coming.
Yeah. Definitely.
And once one person smells it coming, then everyone does, because that's how the market reacts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
But it's good to see that's back. I mean, you know, I just did the last minis and movies on Too Many Games Part 2, where I typed in all the games that I was interested in the spreadsheet and took a look at it and how many it was, and it was a large number, and there wasn't Lord of the Rings on there, so I'm not gonna be able to make room for that one, unfortunately.
well, I mean, like I said, that's the reason why I bought the box set. That way, one, I have the core, I have the book, I have a bunch of miniatures because there's like 80 plus miniatures in the box.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Plus, you can teach somebody with that. That's
Correct.
the super key to all those boxes.
Yeah.
And we all like to split up those boxes, but if you're thinking you're going to be teaching people to play the game, you got to keep an intact starter,
Yeah.
or at least make sure you've got 2 factions so you can teach everyone.
Yeah. I mean, I may trade off that after I teach a few people, or someone says, "Hey, you really want the Rohan?" I'm like, "Nah, I really want Mordor," and I'm like, "Okay." After I teach a few
Rohan.
people. Yeah.
Their Warg Riders look different.
They may have done the change to them.
I just went to it, unless it was a special hero Warg Rider that I was trying to get. There were 3 guys on the back of the thing.
Oh, wow. That's probably some special one, honestly.
That
So
was
I'm
a
looking
special
at
one.
these and I'm like, these look better than I remember.
Well, they may have done a bit different
I was
sculpts.
trying to...
I know the Easterling Cataphracts box did have different stuff in it because, well, the first Cataphracts I had were metal, and there was actually two different banner options, and there were two casualties, which was really interesting. I don't remember them putting casualties in their plastic boxes back in the day.
Yeah, no, they didn't have any in any of their plastic boxes. In fact, casualty is usually a really rare thing to see in their games.
There was actually two of them.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
So
Which will be that'll be very cool. And they actually had two banners in there, which definitely was not an option. I think they repeated one sprue. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, well, two banners is cool because that at least means you can have two in different units and have a little bit or different areas and have a little variety amongst them. Because I have friends who will not play the same model twice. So if there's only one pose, he will totally have to convert it to make it look different.
Well, and that whole horsed unhorsed thing is really important when you, because I used the extra banner and I had an extra plastic guy laying around. I mean, this thing is still from 2003, 4, whatever, but I was able to use the new banner, and now I've got me two apiece, because last time I had to use paper and a spear from a Tomb King's box and stuff to make a second banner.
Sticker paper is awesome for that because you can draw a little design, you can color it, and sitting there flat, it'll be a little easier to make it look like a banner, and then you can take it off and stick it. Like they used to do in their old box sets back in the day. They'd have the sticker banners, which are so much easier to use.
all right.
Yeah, they fold over on themselves.
Well, if you're a little careful, you can get them to work. But, I mean, we're all experts here, right?
Yeah, we're all experts. We all get paid for doing
I didn't
this.
say we're professionals. I said we were experts. There's a difference.
So let's get on with our Reapercon review. And since Kathy and James are the people that went, can y'all tell us what Reapercon actually is?
I'll let Kathy go first.
Oh, okay.
Unless she doesn't want to. I can go first.
It's yeah. Why don't you go ahead and go? You're our guest tonight.
Sounds good. Well, Reapercon was a blast because it was the first time in their new venue, which must have drawn in a lot of bodies because that convention, I thought it was twice the size of last year, and I think their numbers are kind of confirming that it was just that much of an improvement over last year. The new facility was fantastic. There was food, yay, which is great. There were places to sleep, yay, and lots of room to do stuff like actually play RPGs, which we saw a lot of that because that was going out in the lobby where Fort Wapple was. And there were people that would start at 10 o'clock in the morning, and there was still people doing that 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. So that was very nifty. And I got to do lots of on-spot demos, kind of like the Fort Wapple at Adepticon, except since it was a little bit smaller, people could actually, kind of sit around the screen and watch what I was doing. And I was doing demos till about 3 in the morning each day, at least. Painting the big old 5-headed Reaper dragon, painting spacescapes on a Clockwork Dragon. So thanks to everybody that stopped by and said hi and hung out with us.
But I mean, is Reapercon just about Reaper miniatures and about playing with Reaper stuff? I mean, or is it more than that? Because I've never been, and I've been told you got to go, and I'm like, okay, but I don't know what it's about.
But why must I go?
Yes.
It is way beyond the Reaper stuff, because even the painting contest, there was a dark sword, a bombshell. There was 5 different manufacturer awards, I think. And there's actually a vendor's room and none of these vendors have anything to do with Reaper. You've got folks trying to do their own, we got people that are about to do Kickstarter type things. So they're there with their new stuff, trying to show that off, getting ready for new campaigns. They had Cav. I guess it's sort of a Reaper thing. But out in the hallway, that was just people playing RPGs just all day and all night long.
There were organized playthings from Pathfinder and Dungeons and Dragons.
It's almost like Gen Con. There was that level.
A very, very tiny Gen Con.
Very, very tiny.
That sounds appealing, actually.
Yeah.
Actually move places and not get run over.
What? It's madness.
There were a lot of people, as Jim said, it was their first time coming to Reapercon, and they were only there for the Pathfinder or the D&D and didn't even know what the miniature painting stuff was. So it was like well, since Reaper makes the miniatures, the official Pathfinder miniatures, it was easy to kind of draw people into the dark side of miniature painting. You know, here they have this huge selection of models that are perfect for fantasy role-playing characters.
Oh yeah.
You know, so, but they are looking at getting more organized playthings in there, in addition to the miniature painting classes.
Yeah, is it that's what I'm wondering. Is it more than just miniature painting?
Oh, geez, yeah. Now in the past, I would say 4 or 5 years ago when I first went there, that was the be all and end all of everything. But that is eventually each year there's more and more. Heck, they had pinball machines there. There was a whole thing with like the old Atari style games.
Oh,
yeah, the old arcade games
set up there.
There were literally people that played pinball all weekend long, or like Space Invaders or whatever. People were doing that.
They had Galaga there.
So I think they realized that, well, if we want to expand this thing, it can't just be about painting miniatures. It's just nice for us because that is the one place where you'll get people that are seriously painting miniatures. Because at Gen Con, that's like a sideshow to a sideshow to a sideshow there.
Yes.
But here at Reapercon, I've never seen so many people. They're walking around with all this equipment that makes everything I have look like junk. I mean, everything I have is junk compared to what these people are sporting and walking around with. It's amazing with their magnifier lights and their fancy this and fancy that. And I'm looking at it and go, wow, well, that's neat.
Yeah,
Don't know what that is.
It is fun to see the passion that people have for the miniature painting there. You know, to be able to talk to and connect with other people who share that particular aspect of the hobby.
But there's people painting definitely different systems. That's where I found out about the Song of Ice and Fire, which I had never even heard of till we got to Reapercon. And Jim from Dark Swords says, "So Jim, what do you think of the miniatures for that?" I said, "Miniatures for what?"
That's the CMON game, Fire and Ice.
Yeah.
But Dark Sword did the figures for it, so it has the fine sculpting, and they used a different type of plastic for all the weapons. And actually, that just arrived in the mail yesterday after a long vigil.
So we have the box for that, so be prepared for us talking about Song of Ice and Fire, the tabletop game.
I thought it was interesting that they're pre-assembled.
They
it
are.
Reminded me very much of Zombicide, the way that it looks.
In some ways, it reminds me of War of the Ring because you have these movement trays with circular cutouts, and you put your guys in there. And I never had a chance to play Lord of the Ring. That was something that was super popular and then died overnight because I think somebody found some broken combo to something, and that just killed it.
I know the guy. I've talked to him. And not nice words about that.
Because someone was...
Scooter, you gotta stop breaking stuff, man! People want to play this game!
Now, the one thing I'm seeing with that is that obviously it's just the opening box set. There's no missile troops in it. So as it expands and they start releasing the rest of the stuff, there'll be a little more flexibility. It's like any game, Warhammer 40k or War Machine. If you only have one type of troops, that's not going to make for a lot of variety in gameplay.
Correct.
So that's eventually coming down the pike, because when I did go to the Kickstarter page, I said, holy smokes, there's 4 times as much stuff that hasn't been released yet, even from the initial Kickstarter. So that should kind of scale up. It was neat to see that. There was, I'm trying to think of a couple of the neat Kickstarter miniatures that I saw out there. A couple of people trying to sort of advertise their new game, and lots of miniature tool suppliers, which is also neat.
Yeah. Can I interrupt you just for a second, Jim? I have a question. Red Dragon Model Works says, what paint are you using tonight, James? In case you recognize Red Dragon.
So Gilbert, I am trying out some new stuff that the Alchemist, this is what we got to do after Reapercon, was hang out at the factory with all the fellow artists and sculptors, and Anne, because she knows I love my clears. she started to make some new clear paints for me, especially this clear orange. So that's what
I
I'm
can't
testing
wait
out
to
tonight.
use that.
And she made me a phthalo green and sort of a phthalo blue that's sitting around here. So yeah, there we go. So she made me a couple
So
of these.
my other question is for Gonzo.
Mm-hmm.
What is the metallic paint you're using?
I'm using the Army Painter's War Paints. I use the rough iron, that's the brown metal, and then the gunmetal for the major. And I'm using Secret Weapons Armor Wash just to make it all dull and gray and really grimy. And then
All
I'm going to
right.
take and I'm going to do a brown wash over that again just to give it a kind of that rusted look.
Those metals are looking really cool from here.
Good.
So, okay,
I'm dulling it down and making it looking kind of grimy because it is supposed to be a troll and
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
turning
And
down that.
that seems to be working well.
Thanks.
Okay,
appreciate it.
Jim. So back to your Reapercon story. Sorry, I had questions.
Nope, that's cool. Let's see, we got to that was the fun thing though. Last 2 years we had to take off early, quite literally, so we did not get to hang out with, say, Julie Guthrie, who sculpted the gigantic 5-headed dragon that I finished off at Reapercon. That is, I think that weighs about 6 pounds actually, and that's all out of the bones plastic. And I did object source lighting and all kinds of fun things. So
Is that the Tiamat one?
Yeah.
That model is amazing, by the way.
When she was actually describing her thought process as she was sculpting it, because she said, yeah, I wanted it to be 6 dragons in one, or 5 dragons in one. So when you look, I knew when I was painting it, something was different about the toes or the feet. And she said, yeah, they have extra toes, they have extra claws, extra talons. And I didn't really realize it as I was painting this. There were some things I almost thought I was going to file off because they were mold lines or flash. But it turns out that each face is slightly different because it is supposed to be these different dragons combined into one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think apparently I'm the first person that's ever painted it just as a dragon where it's one color, not with each head being a different color. So she was extra happy to see that because she had not, at least at this point, seen one that was done as just more of a standard dragon. And let's see what else. Oh, we got to see the Reaper factory where they're desperately trying to make more room for the latest bone stuff.
Oh, yeah.
The last time I walked around in the factory, there was lots of open space over my head. Now there's basically a second story there. So they have added a whole bunch of stuff since. Got to see some of their new casting facilities, especially for resin, because they're doing a little bit more of that. And they're starting to, I think they're trying to use a new plastic for some of the bones that's a little bit harder. More along the lines of that Song of Ice and Fire, where if it was a spear or a banner, instead of the floppy thing like you usually have, these are more solid. Like the swords and everything, I won't have to do anything to them. I was shocked. Usually I have to set them down on my jeweler's block and basically like a blacksmith redo the blade. Won't have to do it on these. So yay for technology, whatever the heck it is.
That'll be nice. I bet it'll be a little bit easier to clean mold lines. I mean, marginally easier in comparison.
The detail on those, if I was to sit down and paint those now, it's better than these Easterling figures that I'm working on, which are traditional injection molded plastic. Mm-hmm. So they are nifty.
So if I were to go, and now I'm not like, an awesome painter and not into competition style, what could I do there? What would be my thing I would be doing? Or could be doing?
Let's see. You don't really play the board games, do you? Because that's another thing that they were doing there this year is people were playing.
They have a board game library there where people can just grab one of the board games and play at one of the tables. There's a lot of people that are just sitting at tables in the main ballroom just painting with each other. You've got a group of people around a round table and you're just discussing what you're working on. You're discussing, the kind of paints you're using. You're exchanging tips, on how to do certain techniques. People of all levels are just hanging out with other people, getting ideas on painting. And if that's, if you want to be learning more about painting, I mean, doing it that way, you don't even need to be taking classes.
Whew.
But they have a million classes, that people are teaching on various techniques.
If you just wanted to bring X-Wing or something like that, there you could be playing it at one of the tables out in the lobby. You could also be painting those, or people see you playing X-Wing, and maybe you get some games in with other people that also like to play it, but they don't have it with them. So they try to have. I think they're going to also have. Well, they're going to have to make some more space for this because the response was just so massive to it.
Yeah, there's still a pretty new convention as far as a convention at a hotel is. I mean, years ago when they first started out, it was just a handful of people at the factory. And it was only, maybe 5 years ago that they decided they were going to shift it to a hotel and completely shift how they did a convention. Or actually made it into a convention instead of just a little painting party. So they're still growing, they're still expanding, they're still getting more ideas for other things besides the miniature painting.
I guess to give you an idea, the facility they're at now is the same size as the one that Adepticon outgrew about 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I think 3 years ago it was. So they're already, and they actually filled up a pretty good chunk of this thing because there was classes going on different levels, like some upstairs. So yeah, if this thing expands more, that if they have 1,300 people next year, this place will be pretty darn full. And at least there's stuff within walking distance, places to eat, that was the major.
Right across the parking lot, there's an Alamo Cinema and Draft House.
Oh,
So
that's awesome.
movies.
We could do our own MS3K.
Oh my God.
Who's gonna dress up as the robot or whatever?
Who wouldn't? That's a thing he's really asking.
Right?
So there's lots of different things that you can do there. I saw lots of people that were there all weekend. They weren't painting any miniatures at all. They were doing RPG things. I don't. Who knows? Maybe even some of the cosplay stuff might start to take hold a little bit more. I only saw a few people kind of dressed up like as Sophie or whatever, kind of the Reaper mascot.
There were a few people doing cosplay. There aren't events for cosplay, although I think there were a couple of classes that somebody was teaching on coming up with ideas for cosplay and executing them. So it's like I said, the convention is still, in its infancy and still growing.
Okay.
Why Labor Day, though? I have to ask that because it's a busy weekend. It's a holiday weekend. There's already at least 2 other cons that weekend, maybe even 3 cons that weekend.
It's so small, it has to do more, I think, with the room blocks and the deal that the hotel would give them for it.
The hotel basically said, okay, if you will take this date for, I don't know, a year, 2 year, or 2 or 3 years, we will give you this extraordinary rate and we'll let you have whatever space you guys want. And they said, okay.
So it's.
I mean, if it's growing still, that's cool. I'm just like looking at it like, hey, that's so surprising.
Yeah, Labor Day weekend is kind of a weird one.
Last year it was a little handful of people, like we said. It was maybe 500 people. This year it was practically 1,000, I think they said, which is a huge growth. But last year they didn't have nearly as much of the role-playing game stuff.
Gotcha.
Did you have to pay just like one entry fee to get in, and that was it, or did you have to pay for individual events, individual paint classes?
You pay one entry fee to get in, and then you pay extra for the different classes or events or whatever.
Gotcha.
But yeah, you could, like Fort Wapple, that was free. You could just sit there and watch us, talk to us, paint yourself, hang out with us all weekend long. That didn't cost you anything.
That's awesome.
And yeah, I think a lot of the folks that, if they were going to go to Dragon Con or they normally go there, well, they're going to go there anyways. And if it's 2 weeks later or a week later, they might still not be able to go, because even for us, it was tough because
You kid, it's
Gen
very
Con was only 3
difficult.
weeks before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very. I mean, I understand con season is rough, but man, there's so many. I think we're going to see the rise of more regional cons where you'll still get a good number of people coming in, but it might be like, okay, I'll go to Nova this year. Next year, I'll save up and go to something further away,
Yep.
and then maybe back to Nova, then maybe Dragon Con the next year, something like that on that same weekend. It is good to see more small cons out there, but it's just crazy to see it, right that weekend with a lot of competition going on.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people forecasting that nobody would be here, and even I thought, am I
And
gonna
they were
be
wrong.
here?
It actually grew. Not having other conflicts because I don't do those other conventions
Yeah,
on Labor Day weekend. I thought it was a perfect weekend for me. It worked really well. I like it better than the weekend before my birthday. So, which is what it used to be, but now we can do a local small convention called Dragonfall, which is the weekend that Reapercon would have been in October.
Gotcha.
So it's nice to be able to do that one too.
Well, yeah, and I guess Dragon Con isn't really direct. It's like a sort of tangential competition, really.
Yeah, it's very
And even
much
Nova's
a-
not really at all, because it's like Nova's more the miniature game playing and less of that. So I guess it's actually not a bad weekend thinking about it.
Yeah, definitely. And I have a friend who's from Dallas, and I sent him a message. I'm like, "Hey, are you going to be at Reapercon?" And he's like, "No, I'm going to Nova," which is funny because Reapercon in his own backyard. He's like, "Where is it?" I'm like, "It's in Dallas." He's like, "Oh my God, he didn't even realize." But he doesn't usually do Nova. It's not like a regular thing every year for him. So he said he would try and check out Reapercon next year because he is into the painting as well as the playing. So it'd be cool to see him there.
Yeah.
What's the painting competition scene like? Because I know that is I don't want to say a big part, but a lot of people like to get into that.
It's open. It's an open competition, which means you're not being judged against my work. I'm not being judged against Jim's work.
So sort of like Gen Con
You're being
now?
judged against your own merits.
Yeah, there's a
Like
little.
I think Privateer Press does that, right? With theirs.
No.
No?
There's a bit of a twist to it in
kinda.
that you actually get to talk to the people that judged your stuff. Because for, I think it was 3 years, I was judging that, and I took notes on every single thing that I judged, because the next day they're going to come up to you and say, okay, so why did I get this score? Or can I do something better? Or is there something else I should do? So there's a lot of interaction and feedback with this too. It's a big deal. Was it Saturday night? The entire main hall was filled, rear end to rear end, with people, there at the award ceremony thing, and they stayed there the whole time. But again, there is stuff if you want to compete, like victory at all costs. That's what the Sophies are for. So the Kathy, she got 2 golds. Those were in the general categories. But if she wins, say if next year she gets a Sophie for one of her things, she can't compete for those medals anymore.
What's a Sophie?
Getting a Sophie is the Reaper, the big Reaper award. It's like the Golden Demon of Reaper.
Is it why is it called Sophie? Is why I'm asking.
Because Sophie is the mascot for Reaper miniatures.
Gotcha.
She's the demonette with the wings.
Gotcha.
That you see in all their artwork and stuff.
Okay.
And her name is Sophie. And so they have statues of Sophie, and that's what people get when they paint a Reaper miniature. Better than everybody else's Reaper miniature, basically. That's the only part that's not, open judging. Is if you really want to strive for a Sophie, it has to be a Reaper miniature, and then you'll be in the running.
Gotcha.
But once you win one of those, now you can't win the minor awards anymore. So it's another way they keep you from just. They also don't want to have to be handing out 10,000 medals to people.
What?
So they say, all right, look, once you get to this stage, you're clearly advanced enough. Now you're in the big pool. There's no more floaties on your arms. You have to swim all on your own, and now you're going up against the big boys. But you clearly showed by what you were working on that all right, you're advanced enough to do that.
Yeah.
Which I'm not sure of because I know there's other open systems out there. I don't know if they do it quite that way, where they say, okay, at a certain point now you're just too advanced. You can't compete for this anymore.
Not that I can think of off the top of my head.
I know that
been a while
GW
since
or
I've
not
been that,
GW. Gen Con has where you compete against yourself, and I'm not sure of the whole rules on that because
That's being run by Lynn Stahl. Our
Yep.
friend Lynn of Metalhead Minis has taken over running the hobby track and the miniature painting competition at Gen Con.
yeah, and she's taken over that, and she sounds that all it is you're kind of competing against yourself. But
Yeah,
once
you
you
wanna-
started getting big and bad enough, you can't get the same thing again type stuff.
Yeah, she wanted to run it like the Reaper competition. But at Gen Con you also have, and actually at Reapercon too, you have manufacturer awards, which are a
Yes.
separate thing. So like at Reapercon and I think at Gen Con too, Dark Sword will do their own amongst all of the entries in the competition. They'll judge their own miniatures for every Dark Sword model that gets painted. You have a chance to win whatever it is that Dark Sword wants to give as a prize.
And he actually had trophies this year. He had some brand new. He hadn't made trophies. I guess they had been kind of after him for a while. Hey, make trophies. So this year he did. They were sort of the etched glass trophies, and those were really cool. Pretty sure Bombshell did it.
Bombshell also does manufacturer awards at Reapercon.
And yeah, those are. Did you guys have Patrick Keith on, right?
No, we
as a
haven't. But
guest?
no, we haven't had him on yet. He's been trying to get his studio up and running.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
no,
we
yeah,
were
we know
talking
him
about
very
that.
well. Yeah, we know him very well, and he's a good friend of the family per se.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to get him and Doug Hamilton on at the same time. Because Doug's one of the sculptors for Privateer Press, and one of them, of
Okay.
course, is traditional, and one's
ZBrush.
ZBrush or whatever. And so I've been trying to get them on so we could have a duel of type things, just for fun.
You want to talk interesting is talking to Jason Wiebe, who's been sculpting for Reaper and other things for a million years. And he started out the traditional way, green stuff and Sculpey and all kinds of different materials. But he is learning ZBrush too.
Yes.
And he likes to incorporate both those techniques into the same model. And it's really interesting to see him talk about how he approaches things that way.
Yeah, there's been a lot of. I've been trying to get them on to do that, but they've been having issues after issue, and it's or family, and whatever, just life.
No, it's herding
Life.
cats.
Yeah.
We know how
Life
it is.
happens.
Yeah, life happens. I'm trying to get this. Got that armor kind of oiled up and slicked and gross.
I am really liking how that armor is turning out.
Got to do some stuff with some other things on it, but it's kind of getting all gross.
I'm mostly amused how he's painting the model opposite how you're supposed to.
I know. I do the skin last.
I
Sue
know,
me.
it's just funny. I mean, your stuff turns out fine. It's just funny because
Yeah.
I've been taught inside out. Like,
Yeah.
We do the skin for. And it's funny because you say that, and I think of Jim and how he approaches models, and how he does a base coat on every part of it first, just like a half-tone base coat on the skin, on the armor, on the leather, on everything, just to get a color on it over the primer,
Yes.
Oh,
and then
that's why I do
start,
it. Dang.
start
his
going
looks better,
up and
but-
down. That way, when you mess up and hit one thing, it's
You
not
know.
completely finished, so you're not. It's not as much of a headache.
Bing, 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 bing. You've got it right, Kathy. That's kind of how I
Well,
went with it.
I also do that to try and I'm trying to work on my brush control when I paint because I am, to put it bluntly, sloppy as fuck. And I'm trying to work on that. So I figured if I keep doing it that way, where I do the base coat and everything, it gives me a reason to try harder to not be sloppy as fuck.
Now, do you prop your hands together, like when you're holding a model? You know.
Hold on, I got everything I need right here somewhere.
You've got to test it out.
No, I do. I absolutely do. I grab a
Yeah.
model. I had a paintbrush.
That's really the way to. I know. If you're shaky, even just holding one finger against another finger in certain areas. I mean,
Like
it really
this.
helps. Yeah, really helps to keep things. And then
Or if
I've
I have
always
one of my
have,
handles,
like,
I'll put the handle there. Yeah.
and then I always have my elbow either propped against my side or propped against the arm of
Desk
the
or
chair
something. Yeah.
to steady it. I find
Yep.
that really helps.
I'm hip to those tactics. Remember, it's not that I can't paint; it's just that I don't have the setup to paint. So I turn.
Yeah, I know, and I haven't actually seen you paint yet.
No, I just found a whole painted army. I mean, fleet. I found my old Earth Babylon 5 fleet, which is almost completely painted. I got to do one stand of Star Furies to fix, and then it's all good. Which is great for a game that doesn't actually exist anymore.
Oh, man.
But I kept them because they're all painted. God damn it!
Right?
So honestly, looking at them, I'm like, I could do so much more now, and I may. Who knows?
Now, typically, this is my paint stance. I have my forearms on the table, and it's usually my left hand is on the table, and then I paint and just rotate like this.
Scotty's talking about the pinky stabilizer. That's what I have too, and so does Jim. We'll always like the pinky stabilizing against some part of the other hand. I don't know what it is, but that seems to really help.
Well, it helps if you get the caffeine shakes too. I don't get those so much anymore because I don't drink as much caffeine. But back when I did, it really helped.
I have started using my airbrush a bit more.
Thanks, Jeff. Jeff Wallach just chimed in and says he's seen me with the painted army.
Yeah, I don't
Shut up,
believe you, Jeff. Where are you, Jeff? How
Is he
come
on
you're not in
Facebook?
the? Oh, are you on Facebook? I
He's
need
on
to go look at
Facebook.
Facebook.
It just popped up in our feed too. If you're looking at our feed, it's right there.
Yeah, it takes a little while for it to come up.
It was like 15 years ago. It was like 15 years ago, actually.
So I
It's-
can barely see it in our feed, sadly. And if I go to the Facebook page, everything looks fuzzy for me.
That's strange. Glasses?
Yeah, I no everything. No, all the words and everything look clear, but when I go,
Yeah, you just go to the chat section if you're watching on Facebook. That we don't want to
When
It
I
all
go
looks real
to-
fuzzy for me right now, but there's a reason.
because you're drunk.
oh, it's
No,
not
I
looking fuzzy
took
now.
my glasses
Now it is. What the what?
Sometimes you gotta give it time to let the
Yeah.
stream catch up and the resolution to catch up
I
to
know.
highest quality.
Takes a little bit. So do y'all recommend going to Reapercon? I mean, what's your scale of go-to? Is it like a must now, or is it, yeah, if you got the time, want to hang out with some old friends?
If you want to up your miniature painting game, if that's where your passion lies, you need to go to Reapercon because there are just so many people there who have that passion for painting. It's just fun to be able to talk to other people and geek out about it. And you learn so much just sitting at a table with other people talking about what you're working on, even if you're not taking classes.
Yeah, because actually what happened with us is a lot of the instructors, Aaron Lovejoy and Bryce Coconor, they came by and we were all just painting, and it was almost like free little classes for people.
Yeah,
Sense.
little spot demos when people came up and had a question about whatever somebody happened to be working on.
Yeah, never turn down free lessons in painting. You learn so much that way.
Oh yeah.
'Cause
What about
where-
Sorry. What about vendors? Because I'm a vendor whore when it comes to conventions. I love going to the vendors, and I waste so much money at the vendors.
It's a small dealer's room. The dealer's room is part of the ballroom where all the tables are and where the painting competition is. And so you have all miniature related stuff. You had Badger Airbrush was there.
See,
Hangar
You
18
had,
was there.
Janet's Tools was there with like every single tool you could imagine for model hobbying, for any kind of model hobbying. I got to know that guy that weekend, and he's more of a model train enthusiast, but he could talk your ear off about all kinds of techniques about modeling.
Yeah, tools and techniques for modeling are good for multiple types.
Yeah.
I
yeah,
don't care
There
where
was
we started. I'll steal what I can steal.
yes.
yeah. I got tweezers.
Hangar 18 was there. You like Bombshell Miniatures. They had their booth
Yeah.
there with their game. Free Blades was there, and they're usually at Adepticon too.
Mhm.
Eel
And they were doing
75 was there.
Oh, I was about to ask about them because I got a bunch of their paints sitting over here on my desk.
Yep, their paints, their models.
They got some good stuff.
Yeah. Well, so Hangar 18, they also sell other people's models. They have their own hobbying supplies, but they also are selling models from people like
But-
Nuts Planet and Kabuki
I thought they
Miniatures.
were an actual store.
This is the one convention that they do because they're the place where I've got all my photo backdrops from. But they also did a Kickstarter line of pinups, and I've gotten some of those from them.
They had some of those there too.
And I know what people were getting, new, like Nocturna is one of my favorite 75 millimeter sculpts, and they also had the new Celestial figures there. They had some Iridium. If you're looking for some of the bigger scale stuff, they had it in their booth. But then if you needed static grass or grass clumps or foliage bits or whatever, that's where I first got to see kind of the newer grass tufts and the shrub tufts. Was at their booth at a Reapercon a few years ago. That kind of opened my eyes to that sort of stuff because I got to see it firsthand instead of just a grainy web picture or whatever.
Oh yeah.
But you're telling me we don't just use flock anymore?
I actually
like
did.
Flock. I actually will use it in combination, I kid you not, with my grass tufts.
No, it's more of a joke than anything. Actually, the funny thing is we had the guy who owned a framing shop and did a lot of stuff. He cut a lot of frames, have wood stuff. He would, instead of using flock, he would use sawdust and then paint it.
Sure.
Well,
'Cause it's-
actually now
That
I'm
would
making
be a
my
good
own grass
texture.
and shrub tufts now.
Yeah, I've seen people do that. That's probably a step beyond I want to go, but it's good to know you can if you have the.
If you're
It's
if you're
really
making
easy.
so many bases where you're putting grass tufts on them, which of course we are, then getting that, what's it called, Jim? That tool?
It's basically a static generator.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I've actually got some tufts here that I made, and I can make hundreds of tufts in a matter of about 15 minutes. Because all you do is just stick a dot of glue.
Yep.
So there's a dot of glue here. You get, you stick a little nail in here. You get your static going, and you want to have 2 mil, 4 mil, 6 mil grass. Vary up the colors. But the nice thing is, yeah, you can make static grass tufts. But if you get the little leaves and then the little colored stuff, now you're making your own flower tufts. And right here, if I was just to go buy what I've got here retail, this would probably be $20.
Oh yeah,
If not
absolutely.
more. And this was maybe 3 cents worth of stuff between the glue and the grass and everything. We all have containers of static grass.
Oh yes.
And the nice thing is you can make the sizes that you want.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't know how many times you run out of the small tufts right away or the big tufts, and you're left with all the medium ones, and you're desperately trying to cut those up into smaller sizes or whatever. So, but yeah, between the cost and running out, I just started making my own.
No, it's a good idea. I've seen it. Usually I see it done on plastic wrap, not on was that parchment paper?
Yeah, just on parchment paper.
Interesting.
And well, now that I'm doing huge terrain things also, it's really nice to have that option of being able to do the static grass on terrain.
Gotcha. That sounds cool. I might have to take a look at it when I finally get back to painting stuff and not just assembling every model on God's green earth.
Well, eventually you're gonna have to stop and paint some of those.
I am running out of models, and that sounds scary to say, but I am.
Uh-huh. Well,
Running
you
out of
did
models
just
put
get some
together?
more, though, didn't you?
What's that? Oh yeah, I did just get 2 new box sets, so yeah, I've got some more for a bit, but some of those don't take too long, and I mean there'll be a point where I'm like, I don't want to buy more stuff right now.
Just
So
so you don't have to stop, so you don't have to start painting?
no, actually, it's more of I haven't gotten my desk yet because
No, I'm saying you don't want to have to start buying more models just so you don't have to paint.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I could paint on here, but it's just not. It's not set up well for it. It doesn't work well. It's difficult. It makes it more difficult than it needs to be. I have to do something. So again, desk in my future.
I know these, oh geez, I don't know if it'll show up under the camera, but these little lights here, it looks like I can actually get it there. So these are about 10, 12 bucks on Amazon. You can see they got the flexible thing, and they've got 3 different settings. They can either run, this is a little average, ordinary, AC connector here, but on the other end is a USB. So it could go in any kind of outlet that supports it, or into your laptop or something like that. So it makes it so much easier for me. This is what I use for painting, for photography, for everything, is I have a whole fleet of these things set up. And that's what we used at Reapercon, actually. We brought a bunch of those, and people were using those as their painting lights.
Well, it looks like we're about 8 o'clock. Let's go and go to the media section. We're going to go to our Reapercon special one that Kathy made.
Oh snap!
Look at that Reapercon review.
It's a review for Reapercon. Reapercon review.
Doot, doot. So this is, of course, our media section, guys, where we're going to talk about things we've watched, done, read, listened to, etc. all week. Everybody has a chance to talk about something. Of course, we have our rating system: 1 to 5, or 0 to 5. Space herpes. The more space herpes it gets, the worse it is. And who would like to go first? I have about 3 or 4 things to talk about.
I have 2 because my third one I took care of in Minis and Movies, which was a tribute to Burt Reynolds.
Okay.
Oh.
You could probably guess what movie I watched.
I could. Was it the one I saw, when I was 8?
Probably.
Wow.
My first PG movie ever? Not counting Star Wars?
Funny enough, that movie did come out the same summer as Star Wars, and it was the only other summer movie to survive the summer of Star Wars.
Uh-huh.
That's the one, yeah.
Ooh, cliffhanger.
Cliffhanger.
Oh, Xander, thanks for
Ruining it.
for everyone.
Xander!
Oh.
Minus 5 DKP. Alright, so I'll go with one that's a media movie review, or music review. I had to take a trip to this weekend, drove about 4 hours, so I decided to listen to the new Eminem album. Now, I'm not much of a rap. I enjoy rock more than anything, but of course it's Eminem and he has done some good stuff. So I decided to listen to it. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great. I'm not a huge Eminem fan, although I do like some of his stuff, and he's got some stuff that are classics now because he's old. But there were some songs I was like, the hell is this shit? It was like, it wasn't even rapping. It wasn't even musical. It was just bad. So just a quick and dirty. It was decent. It had some pretty good songs on it. Had some good beats. I would say 1.5, maybe 2 space herpes. If you're an Eminem fan, you're gonna like it. If you're not,
This makes me hungry for candy. I'm sorry.
But it wasn't bad. I didn't buy it, so I didn't have to worry about it. I just listened to it through iTunes. So, like I said, about 1.5, 2 space herpes. Kathy, what do you got?
Jim and I watched an episode of Der Kommissar und das Meer again last night. That's the Swedish detective show. The Detective in the Sea is what it's called, and it was just another international mystery that I like. This one delved into a prisoner of war camp that had been on an island in Sweden obviously during the Second World War, and the Russians didn't want them holding the Germans in Sweden anymore, so they had to send them back. But the locals, meanwhile, had mingled with some of these POWs, and so it was all about this one grandma trying to keep her secret love a secret, and people died. I love these international mysteries because of the other weird cultural takes that are so different from American detective series.
So, how many space herpes do you give it?
None. It was riveting.
Oh, good.
My only drawback is I can't play my card game while it's on because I don't understand Swedish.
Oh, yeah, because you have to subtitle it all.
I tried that with Tatort the night before, which is that the German police series, and I'm like, I can't understand a thing these people are saying. I glance up at the screen and there's figure skaters on it. I glanced back to my game and I knew nothing. I was just hearing German in the background.
Why is everyone angry? Oh, that's
Just
German.
John, what's your first one?
My first one was Labor Day weekend, that Sunday after I got back from family stuff and finished watching that cool cast yet with the Dust Guys. I'm sitting there on YouTube and a clip comes up from John Wick. I'm like, yeah, I'll watch this. And I'm like, no, you know what? I don't have anywhere to go tomorrow. Stop. I'm going upstairs. I'm actually going to watch John Wick again. So
The first one, right?
Yeah, the first one. Yeah, Banyan came up from the basement. We watched John Wick. It's still, in the X viewing, 8th, 9th, whatever. Still great. Still marvel at how well done the action is. The whole ambiance of it, the whole feel of it. It's still great. It's still 0 shots of Kraken, and I'm looking forward to the third one. Honestly, that would have been the best action movie that year if it hadn't been for a little movie most people haven't heard of called Mad Max Fury Road.
What?
Yeah, I know. A little independent Australian film.
Well, what do you think about them coming out with the John Wick TV series?
Unnecessary. Well, depending on how they go. I would like to see more in that universe, but me and Not Brushhead Dave have long conversations occasionally. He's like, I want to know more about the backstory of the universe. I'm like, no, you actually don't. You think you do, but every time they go back and tell you backstory to whatever cool series, it's not as good as what you thought of in your head. Thus, it brings it all down. See Star Wars / Alien for common, examples of this. You don't really want to know what's there. You can't have as much interest. But if you tell other stories in that universe, then that's definitely the way to go. That could be good.
Well, I think what they're going to do is they're just going to talk about that. What is it called? What's the group called?
I don't know if they have a name.
There's a name for them. There's a name for the group, the mansion that they go to, the safe house or whatever.
Well, the Continental is the name of the
the series,
the hotel.
Yeah, that's what it's going to be about. The Continental. It's not going to be about John Wick. It's going to be about the Continental,
well, yeah, it
the
should
world
be about
of John
Wick.
Yeah.
Interesting to see. It's got some potential. I'm not super. I'll be cautiously optimistic, but I'm worried they're going to do stuff that people don't need to know because you don't.
Yeah.
It's better having the mystery. Why do they all use gold coins? I don't care. They use gold coins for currency. That has been established. I'm good with that. Why is there all these people to support the assassin community? Well, that just makes sense. If there's an assassin community, people need to support it. That's how the service industry goes. Yeah. I'm good with that.
It is a service industry.
I don't need that. There's certain questions I just don't need answered. But yeah, John Wick, if you guys haven't seen it, what the hell are you doing?
No shit.
Jeebus. But yeah, I own it. It's worth it. I need to buy the second one. Just been lazy. And money is not an unlimited thing, unfortunately. I'm waiting for the time it is. But yeah, super cool. 0 shots of Kraken. Don't kill a man's dog and steal his car.
No shit.
Oh, Gonzo, what's your second one?
I watched a show. It's on Netflix. And it's called The Joy of Tech. It's about two guys. I think one is Greek, and I'm not sure what the other one is, but they go and find gadgets that you would use outside of the area. Like the first one, they go camping. And so they're using camping gear. One guy is going all low tech, and one guy goes all high tech. Like the guy's got, yeah, and like he's got a pair of electrical heated socks, electrical heated shirt, electrical heated jacket, with battery packs and all this stuff, and just has all this, great gadgets. And of course, one is, no, you don't need all that. You can just do what you need to and go on, so on and so forth. And they just crack jokes at each other all the time, and give each other hell and say some of the most inappropriate comments. And it is so hilarious. I haven't finished all of it yet, but it is definitely worth watching. One, so you can see cool little gadgets like a flashlight that can actually start a fire, because of how powerful the thing is. Joy of Tech, Joy of Tech. It's on Netflix.
It's just plural.
Yeah, Techs.
I think they're both actually British.
Are they all British? I know they give one of the guys, they give him hell because he's Greek of some nature, or as part of his background.
Greek descent, because it just seems. But looking at their biographies here on IMDb real quick, they're both British. It looks like it's a British show, so that makes sense.
But it is just hilarious. Like they get in a hot tub, and the guy brings out a mini vibrator to massage his muscles while they're in the hot tub, and you can just tell two guys with and they go off on all of these things, and it just shoes that help the muscles in your anus. It's just shit like that. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna okay.
Yeah.
Not smile.
It's just they go and they take everything to the extreme. But like I said, one of them is all low tech and one's all high tech, and they just talk about it. And they show some really cool products off. Like I said, there was a flashlight that actually can start a fire with the light because it's so bright and so hot. So it was just really cool stuff like that.
That's called a laser.
Yeah, pretty much.
Visible light laser.
Yeah. It actually was really neat. So they had some pretty cool stuff on there. Like I said, I haven't finished it, but so far, no space herpes. Good laughs, good tech. They got good chemistry too.
That's important, because they say it's sort of like the quick review says like a in the flavor sort of the Grand Tour old Top Gear.
Yes, and they said that they've been friends for a long time, and you can tell that they've got some good camaraderie. But it is definitely worth the watch. Definitely fun to see. I highly recommend it.
Cool. So no space herpes so far. Excellent.
Speaking of good tech, they had a marathon of Get Smart on yesterday.
Interesting. Well, you're bound to review it now.
Yep, go for it. Get Smart, review it.
Oh my god, I forgot how much I liked Get Smart. It's so ridiculous.
It is. It was Austin Powers for Austin Powers, and it's so much more clean humor in most part, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
It so was. Yeah, it is very clean. Well, I mean, it was the 60s, I think.
People
60s.
forget how
much
much the spies were like.
70s. But you know what? Mel Brooks was a writer on that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Totally, yeah. Everything makes sense, And Don Adams did voices for so many cartoons and everything. He has such a distinctive voice. And he was Inspector Gadget.
Yep.
Too. Inspector Gadget was like the kids' version of Get Smart.
Maxwell Smart, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, people don't realize is that in the 60s and all, the spy was the big thing. That's when James Bond hit his big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Get Smart, The Man from U.N.C.L.E. Even a little bit later in the 70s, I mean, Wonder Woman started off, as a spy sort of flick where she just happened to turn into Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a big thing for a long time, but that's sort of how TV shows go.
It was all the Cold War, and so.
Saint,
says the Saint.
Yeah.
There was a marathon of the Saint on last night too. I was really torn.
Did you ever see? You've seen the movie, I assume, the Val Kilmer remake.
Val Kilmer one? No, I never did.
It was so good.
I enjoyed it, and there was another movie reboot of it with some other people that were trying to make a new series. It's on Amazon Prime for free, or it was. It was not bad either. So I mean, there's a bunch of stuff out there you can watch.
So, how many space herpes do you give?
Get smart.
Get
Come on.
smart.
You know the answer to
Probably
this.
Two, because it's so funny, but it's so ridiculous. It's so cheesy. It really needs a couple. Kind of like Ice Pirates needs a couple.
I'll be honest, Gonzo. I know you don't want to use the old rating scale, but I feel like Get Smart was rated on the old rating scale.
You need a drink.
Exactly. That should be a rating. Rating, get me a drink.
Give me a drink.
The Saint, on the other hand,
That's also good.
maybe one. I think
Yeah, some of those are a
much
product
fun,
of their time. It's so hard to judge them fairly, you know?
I noticed that Roger Moore's hair in the couple episodes that I saw last night was very much. I see that Donald Trump's hair is trying to be like Roger Moore's hair in The Saint.
Oh, well, you know.
I was mesmerized by the sweep of it this way and the sheen there. I was like, this is his ultimate homage to The Saint.
I'm sure
hilarious.
Donald Trump was a big Saint fan.
That's
Probably not.
Hey, I don't judge.
I do.
a lot.
I judge a lot. Oh.
What
Well, there you go.
about Jim? Jim, have you watched or listened to or read anything?
Well, let's see. Watching the NFL has given me multiple space herpes because clearly nobody knows how to play anymore. Maybe they should play about 20 preseason games instead of 0. However, college football saved the day yesterday because we were stuck here waiting for that package. So I got to see a full slate of games, and yes, sanity was restored because they actually play games before they play the games. So there was some competence on the field. It took, watching these 18-year-olds to do it, but hey, what do you know? At least they didn't have to watch 4 guys miss field goals from point-blank range.
That's true. I heard that happened.
Yeah. So that I'm like gonna have to have multiple salves or whatever to recover from trying to view NFL games.
I'm upset that the Cleveland Browns lost, ruining their best start in like 17 years or 14 years, I think it was.
Yeah, and if they could have kicked one more field goal, they could have, instead of going 0-16, they could have been 0-16.
No. They
So
tied their first game and started off for their best start in years.
Legionnaires chimes in. He says Alabama has ruined college football. That's his hot take.
My response is Roll Tide.
Roll damn Tide.
Oh, Legionnaires,
Go Tigers.
getting no sympathy here.
Go Tigers.
No. Gonzo, War Eagle.
No. Go Tigers.
Yeah, I saw that too.
We were watching a game last night, the Ohio and the Horned Frogs. I'm like,
The only
I'm
part
like,
of
do
college I
people-
don't like is how uneven they are. It's like, I know you guys got the money and the teams come and they get money for playing you and getting their butts whooped, but man, college football on an even slate it'd be a hell of a thing to watch.
Well, it does start to happen. I mean, these
Eventually.
these are all the cream puff games right now. Although more and more teams are losing to the cream
know,
puff teams,
It's so amusing.
oh,
and
Jim,
the
Gilbert says, how about that kid in Kansas City, 6 touchdowns?
Patrick Mahomes. Everybody said that was a huge mistake. Of course, I don't think we're gonna have Mitch live up to the Mahomes new. He's not gonna be a Hall of Famer. Although Mahomes has some way better receivers to throw to.
I find it amusing right now that we have our media section has turned into the sports
section.
video section.
Let's be honest,
That's-
NFL is media nowadays.
It is.
It is totally valid.
I've
That's
been
what I do.
finding myself watching clips from other stuff. I don't watch whole games anymore generally. I just watch clips. Show me some highlights.
Yeah, it's just amazing that nobody can play. Right, I'm looking. There was games where there was 13. The average game now has 13 flags before the first half ends.
And the funniest thing was I saw on Twitter, like FedEx or someone was doing, or some sports channel or somebody was doing the best play of last week, and the guy looked at me like, this guy didn't wrap up, tackled horribly. Do you call that the best play of the week?
Oh, yeah.
Fair.
Well, and I know that the refs are having all kinds of problems with that new putting your weight on the quarterback rule, because that's how we ended up with a tie today. Because you had a sack, and the guy he was trying to offset his weight. And I'm a person saying this to defend the Green Bay player. So that's kind of tells you how much this is starting to affect the game.
For everyone who doesn't know, this is a Chicago man defending a Green Bay player. That's a hell of a thing.
He was clearly trying to offset that weight and trying not to Aaron Rodgers the guy. That's I used to say you're going to Joe Theismann the guy. Now you say you're going to Aaron Rodgers the guy.
Oof, I remember the Joe Theismann one. Yikes. Because I'm a Redskins fan. Or I was when I mean, technically still a Redskins fan. I just don't really watch football anymore. I don't have
Yeah. Ha! Gilbert just said blasphemy, James. Blasphemy.
Oh.
Yeah, Gilbert say he's from Joliet. He's a local friend of ours.
Awesome. So, back to
Other media.
Media section.
other media. I watched a little series. Probably no one's heard of it. It's on Amazon Prime. It's called Jack Ryan. I'm sure no one's really heard of it. They're not putting all the money
In the world.
advertising it.
I should probably
so-
watch that.
I was going to watch it anyways, but then because Banyan gave it good reviews, and then Twitch is like, "Hey, have free bits for watching." I'm like, "Well, I was going to watch it anyway. Sure, give me free bits." What the hell? It's been amusing. It's quasi-realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Probably about as realistic as most of the movies are, more or less. Well, yeah, I can talk about the series without you being able to. Yes, suck it. Yes, I can, Banian. I'm going to talk about it without you being here. Suck it. Lock the door. But no, it's pretty good. I like the guy they got to play Jack Ryan.
Uh-huh.
It's interesting that the whole thing is, and none of this is spoilers. A lot of this stuff is from the first 10 seconds. It's basically Jack Ryan and his mentor, whose name's escaping me, who used to be played by James Earl Jones. They got another guy playing him, and it's sort of their meeting and getting together. So it's cool. It's very modern terrorist. It's not really telling any of the actual stories that he wrote, but it's sort of based by and inspired by.
Okay.
Yeah, Jim Greer, thanks, Banian. And it's pretty good. I enjoy it. I think certain people are overhyping it. It is not the end all be all, but it doesn't keep my interest enough to watch 2 episodes in a row. But I get sit down for dinner and I'm like, I'm gonna watch the next episode. So that's a good enough praise. I am 6 episodes in, so I have like 3 or 4 more in the series. For series 1, so I'm gonna give it. I'll give it 1 space herpes because there are times you're like, this fight should be over. Come on, or it just hits you the wrong way because it really tries to project that realistic, and then it's a little tiny unrealistic in certain things, and it can take you out until you're used to it. Like by episode 3, you're not worried about it anymore. You're used to it, but the first couple episodes, you're like, but what? I don't. So.
I feel
Definitely
like
watch
this
it.
is something I need to see.
It's good. Get Amazon Prime. It's free. It's worth it.
I watched the first episode. Erica and I watched the first episode, and it was good. It was a good, solid show. It wasn't, all crazy hype and, everything, but it kept me there.
Too much money into advertising it.
Well,
so much money.
Yeah.
Where are they advertising it? 'Cause
Everywhere.
I haven't seen any advertising.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Like I go on Twitter at lunch and I scroll down and there's like there's another ad for freaking
Yeah, they
for
spent
Jack
a lot
Ryan here.
Huh.
But very enjoyable. They left it from what I understand. They haven't put any of the other secondary characters in, but from what I hear, they leave it open to add some of those guys, Clark and such, that show up in other series. But very enjoyable. Give it a shot. Hey, if you care enough, find the old books, read them. Those books are good.
Yeah,
Tom Clancy got many movies made for a good reason because he writes a damn. Gets a little crazy at points, but He's a heck of a storyteller. Gonzo, you got something else?
I have one more.
Yeah.
And it is called The Dragon Prince. It's on Netflix. It is a Netflix series. It's done by the guys that did the Avatar: Last Airbender, not the movie, the TV show.
Catch
Yeah.
that.
Yep. Animation. And also Korra, written by those guys. And it's their new series. The basis of the story is humans figured out how to use dark magic, and for figuring out how to use dark magic, elves and the elven kingdoms kicked all the humans to the west side of the continent, separated by this like lava river or whatever. And the humans in their struggle to get back, because I guess to use dark magic, you have to take magical energy from mystical animals, so you kill them in the process. Kind of like necromancy in a way. And the humans tried to push back and get to the other side, and when they did, they killed the god of dragons and stole and destroyed his egg. And so when they did that, now the elves are all against the humans, and there's a constant war and battle. Great story. I binge watched the entire season today. It's only 8 episodes. And they're only 30-minute long episodes because it's listed as a TV young audience, that Y7 or whatever it is. But it is definite. If you love The Last Airbender and Korra, it's the same type of writing, same comedy, same humor, same abilities. Characters are really good. All the characters in the story that you come up against and everything is really neat. They have their own flair. Everybody has their own little niche that makes them who they are. I thought it was interesting that one of the characters is deaf and uses a shield as a weapon. That's the person's only weapon, which I thought was a cool idea. It was, something different. There's that animosity between elves and humans, and the comedy in it is really good. The mocking of each other based on their race and the pretending and just things that were done, solid, spot on. If you, like I said, if you liked it, you'll like this, because if you liked all The Last Airbender, you'll like the story and you'll like the writing. My only complaint is that it is done in like a shaded CGI in a way, and so like the movement isn't all fluid. When you first watch it, you're like, something's not right with the animation, but it seems like it gets better, or you get used to it the more you watch it.
You probably get used to it. Us old school anime guys and animation guys usually have a problem with that stuff for a bit.
Yeah, and so it was a little off-putting while I was watching it. First, I was like, the animation isn't right. You can see the twitch or whatever's going on. Like I said, it's probably because you either get used to it, or of course, maybe they got a little bit better. But it's still there. It's still 100%, like I said, the Avatar guys, and they do a great job telling the story. They do it by books, like they did the Korras and Avatar. So I'm guessing this is going to be like a 6-part series, because it's all based on the elements of magic and stuff. So kind of where it seems like it's going to be. I highly recommend it. If you liked it, like I said, if you like the Avatar stuff, go watch it. It's a quick and easy binge. They're like 25-minute episodes, 23 to 25. Good fun. Highly recommend. One Space Herpes, because it's just such a short series. Hope it comes out more rapidly than once a year. But it was good. I can't wait for the next book. Season, whatever you want to call it. So, highly recommend it. One, just because it was kind of weird getting used to the animation. So, other than that. And that?
It is now 8:30,
Woo,
people.
perfect timing. Talk about that.
It's 9:30.
Right? Or 9:30 if you're John.
Or you're a dork. All right, guys. So that is episode 50 in the can. We want to also thank all of our sponsors, Broken Head Games, for of course sponsoring us and providing us with the ability to sell some really cool stuff. If you haven't noticed, guys, and you're into widgets and all that things, please go find over. Use our link. If you buy anything from them, that helps us out a lot because that's our affiliate link. We get a kickback. And also, if you like tournament sets and widget sets, the ones that we're selling based off of with our logo on it all go straight back to the podcast so we can buy new equipment, get better things for us, so we can help out, get better rewards for y'all. We highly recommend it. That helps us out a lot.
Yep, it does.
Also, Tectonic Craft Studios. Dan, such a lovely man.
Yeah.
He's always awesome. Thanks to him. And, of course, Mechanica Studios for being there and helping us out. He's going to be giving us some stuff to give away shortly,
Cool.
which I can't wait to give because he's got a lot of things going on. I also want to thank James for coming on and painting and talking with us. We
Yeah, thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thanks a lot.
If you don't know, James usually comes on every once in a while with me, and him and I will do painting. And once in a while, he came on and helped me stay awake for my last few hours of my 24-hour stream, which was very much needed. By that time, I just turned on his camera and go, watch him. I'm going to talk to him. Type thing.
Yeah. I'm looking at that my Skype thing right here. It says 4 hours and 12 minutes.
Guys, be on the lookout on Facebook. We'll have some stuff coming out. Possibly a Daughter of the Harbinger coming out. John, what do you got coming out? Anything this week?
I think I probably need to catch up with minis and movies. I fell behind a week. Try and get that, and then we record another Adventures Sewer Bear on Saturday. So, but we will be missing a week when I'm out of town, unfortunately. But nothing
Okay.
I can do about that.
And then, Kathy, you up to painting on Monday and Thursday this week?
I will be painting tomorrow morning, 10 to
Yay.
noon Central, and I will be painting again on Thursday, 10 to noon Central. So if your morning's free, come watch, come join the chat. If you're working, you know what? You can listen to that shit.
Yep,
I
you
am
can.
told I might be funny. I don't know.
And guys, if you are going to support us, while we do love and appreciate all the bits and all the cheers and stuff that you give us here, the best way to support us is actually by Patreon because you get actually some really good rewards, which we're changing up shortly to add some neat things coming up. But if you really want to get taught how to paint, you may want to join that because Kathy does some painting on that and helps out. So with other than that, guys, that's episode 50. For More Than Dice, I'm Gonzo.
I'm John.
I'm Kathy.
I'm Jim.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Gracie.
Man,
It's really old school.
no shit.
Yeah, I am all about the old school, guys. In case you hadn't noticed by my Get Smart and the Saint.
I think you went older school than that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we forgot to mention that Australia won the World Team Championship for
Hey.
War Machine and Hordes.
Hey, guess what? We're still on.
Hey.
So,
Did
good luck,
they?
Australia. Or, congratulations,
What?
Australia.
Way to go, Australia.
Almost like I planned that.
What? We don't plan shit around here.
Not really.